My phone died, she said. But I saw her texting another man in the reflection of the kitchen window. She smiled at the screen, bit her lip, and typed faster. That was the night I knew my wife wasn't mine anymore. For weeks she'd been working late, coming home smelling like cologne I didn't own. She kept her phone face down, changed her passcode, and showered the second she walked in the door. When I asked why, she snapped, "You're paranoid. Stop acting crazy." But I wasn't crazy. Because one night, when she said she was at a work dinner, I drove by her office. Her car wasn't there. Where was she? Who was she with? And how long had this been going on? Right under my nose. She told me she had another late meeting. Said she wouldn't be home until around 11. I tried to brush it off. Tried to tell myself, don't be paranoid. She's working hard, that's all. But something snapped in me that night. I picked up the phone, called her office line. Straight to voicemail. No answer. So I grabbed my keys. Drove out there myself. The building was dark. Completely empty. Not a single car in the lot. Not hers. Not anyone's. I sat there for a long minute, gripping the steering wheel, staring at the empty parking lot. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like my chest was going to explode. Where the hell was she? I parked across the street, turned the lights off, and waited. 30 minutes passed. Then an hour. My anger grew with every tick of the clock. Finally, I saw headlights. Her car. But she wasn't alone. I squinted through the windshield and felt my stomach drop. A man stepped out of the passenger side. He was not a coworker. Or a friend I had never seen before. He leaned in through the window, smiled, and kissed her cheek. She laughed. He walked away and she sat there for a second, fixing her hair in the mirror. I wanted to storm across the street right then. Rip the door open. Demand answers. But I froze. I just sat there in my car, gripping the wheel, shaking. A part of me still didn't want to believe it. I kept telling myself maybe it wasn't what it looked like. Maybe there was some innocent explanation. But deep down, I knew. That night she came home, just like she said she would. 11 sharp. Smiled when she walked through the door. Kissed our daughter on the forehead like nothing happened. Then looked me right in the eyes and said, "Long day at work." I swallowed the truth burning in my chest and nodded. Pretended like I bought the lie. But in my head, a switch flipped. The woman I thought I knew, the life I thought I had, gone. And as she climbed into bed that night, turning her back to me like she always did, one question kept screaming in my head. How long had she been lying to my face? After sitting on that phone bill for days, I couldn't take it anymore. Every night, I'd check the log. Same number, same late-night calls. My wife lying next to me in bed, telling me she's reading, while the record shows she's on the phone for 2 hours. I kept telling myself, maybe it's innocent. Maybe it's a girlfriend from work. Maybe I'm going crazy. But deep down I knew. One night, after she fell asleep, I stared at her phone on the nightstand. I wanted to grab it so badly, but she'd changed the passcode. I lay there for another hour, until my hands were shaking. Finally, I couldn't resist. I went downstairs, pulled out my own phone, and dialed the number. It rang twice. Then a man's voice answered. "Hello." I froze. My chest went tight. I didn't say a word. "Hello. Who's this?" I hung up. My hands were sweating. I stared at my phone screen, terrified and angry at the same time. What the hell do you say when a man answers your wife's secret number at 11 at night? I sat there in silence until I heard her footsteps on the stairs. She walked into the kitchen, sleepy, holding her phone in her hand. She glanced at me, then down at her screen. I saw her face change instantly. She went pale. She looked up at me and whispered, "Why would you do that?" I played dumb. "Do what?" She held up her phone. "You called this number." My heart was pounding. "Yeah. Who is he?" Her lips trembled. "Just a friend." "Friends don't call at midnight," I said. "Friends don't text. Last night was perfect." She started crying. Not sobbing, quiet tears, like she was trying to guilt me into backing off. "You're overreacting," she said. He's just someone I talk to. I swear it's not what you think. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But her tears didn't feel real anymore. They felt rehearsed. I asked again, who is he? She shook her head. You don't know him. It doesn't matter. That line broke me. It doesn't matter. Of course it matters. If it didn't matter, why was she hiding him? Why the secrecy, the lies, the new passcode, the car missing from her office lot? She went upstairs and shut the bedroom door. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my phone, replaying that man's voice in my head. Deep, casual, like he was expecting her call, like this wasn't the first time he'd picked up late at night. I felt sick. My wife was in my bed upstairs, and some other man's voice was still echoing in my ear. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened. Made breakfast, kissed our daughter, asked me about my workday plans. I played along, but inside I was boiling. I realized something. She wasn't going to confess. Not fully. She'd give me half-truths, crocodile tears, gaslighting. If I wanted the truth, I'd have to catch her in it. That's when I made up my mind. No more direct questions. No more begging for honesty. From now on, I'd get proof. Real proof she couldn't talk her way out of. And that meant following her. Watching her. Tracking her if I had to. Because if she wouldn't admit it, I'd force the truth into the light. So the question burning in my head wasn't if she was cheating anymore, it was when and where was I finally going to catch her. After that night, something inside me shifted. I knew asking her directly wasn't going to work. All I'd get were half-answers, fake tears, and gaslighting. She was never going to sit me down and say, yes, I'm cheating on you. So if I wanted the truth, I was going to have to catch her myself. That week, I confided in one of my closest friends, let's call him Mike. He's blunt, the kind of guy who doesn't sugarcoat. I told him everything, the late-night texts, the car not being at work, the call with the man's voice. He didn't hesitate. He said, stop asking her. Stop giving her chances to lie. If you want answers, gather proof. Otherwise, she'll spin it until you start doubting your own sanity. He was right. That's exactly what she'd been doing. So I ordered a cheap GPS tracker online. Small, magnetic, easy to stick under a car. It arrived 2 days later. My heart was pounding as I opened the box, not because of the device itself, but because of what it represented. If I used this, there'd be no going back. I'd have to face whatever truth came out of it. The next morning, when she went out for her walk, I slipped outside, crouched by her car, and stuck the tracker up under the wheel well. It took less than a minute. When she came back, sweaty and smiling, she kissed me on the cheek. I smiled back, pretending everything was fine, while my phone in my pocket buzzed with her location. For a few days, nothing unusual. She went to work, daycare, grocery store, gym. All places she'd normally go. I started doubting myself again. Maybe I really was paranoid. Maybe she really was just stressed and needed space. But then, one Thursday night, she said it again, I'm staying late at the office. Don't wait up. My stomach dropped. I checked the app on my phone. The little dot wasn't at her office. It wasn't moving toward home either. It was sitting at a hotel across town. My heart started racing. I couldn't breathe. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. I grabbed my keys, got in my car, and drove straight there. The whole way, my brain was screaming, what if I'm wrong? What if she's just meeting a friend? What if? But then the darker thoughts came. What if she's in his arms right now, laughing, touching him, giving him the smile she used to give me? When I pulled into the parking lot, I saw it immediately. Her car. Parked near the side entrance. I sat there in my own car, staring at it. My pulse was thundering in my ears. Every part of me wanted to storm inside, march up to the front desk, and demand to know which room she was in. I wanted to catch her red-handed, strip away all the lies in one brutal moment. But I didn't. I couldn't. Because then what? Do I drag her out? Do I make a scene? Do I let my daughter's mother get humiliated in public? So I just sat there. For 2 hours. Watching that parked car. Watching strangers come and go through the hotel doors, wondering if one of them was him. Wondering if upstairs, my wife was betraying me at that exact second. By the time her car finally moved, my legs were stiff from sitting frozen. I tailed her home at a distance, my stomach in knots, my hands gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles were white. She walked through our front door at almost midnight, kissed me on the cheek, and said, "Sorry. Long day at work." I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the tracker at her feet. But instead, I nodded and said, "Get some rest." Because now I had proof. Not just suspicions, not just bad feelings. Real proof. The only question left was, when was I going to use it? Would I confront her now, or wait until I could catch her with him in person? I couldn't hold it in anymore. After seeing her car at that hotel, I was done pretending. Done playing the dumb husband who believed her late night at the office lies. The next evening, after we put our daughter to bed, I sat her down at the kitchen table. She poured herself a glass of wine like it was any other night. My hands were shaking. I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "Are you sleeping with someone else?" She froze. Completely still. Then she laughed, too quickly, too forced. "What? No. Of course not. Why would you even say that?" I didn't blink. I said, "Because I followed you." Her face changed instantly. The fake smile fell. She set the glass down, her hand trembling slightly. "What do you mean? You mean? I know where you've been," I said. "I saw your car at the hotel. I sat there for hours. So don't tell me you were at the office." She looked like I had slapped her. Her lips parted, then she covered her face with her hands. And then the tears came. Not quiet ones this time, full sobbing. "I'm so sorry," she choked out. "I didn't mean for this to happen." I felt my heart sink into my stomach. My wife. The mother of my daughter. Crying in front of me and admitting it. I asked, my voice barely holding together, "How long?" She whispered, "A few months." "Who is he?" She hesitated. "Just, someone from work." I slammed my hand on the table. "Don't you dare say just. Who is he?" She finally said his name. "A coworker. A guy I'd even met once at a company picnic. We'd shaken hands. I'd offered him a beer. I felt sick." She kept crying, reaching across the table for my hand. I pulled back. She said, "It's over. I swear. It was only physical. I still love you. I never stopped loving you." I wanted to scream at her. How do you tell your husband you've been sneaking off to hotels and then follow it up with "I love you"? Instead, I asked, "Why?" She sobbed harder. "I don't know. I was lonely. I was stupid. It didn't mean anything. Didn't mean anything." That phrase rang in my ears. If it didn't mean anything, why risk our marriage? Why risk our family? She begged me not to tell anyone. She begged me not to leave. "Think of our daughter," she said, over and over. I sat there in silence. My entire world had just shifted, and she wanted me to be the one to protect her from the fallout. I finally said, "If you want me to even consider staying, it ends now. Tonight. You cut it off, you delete his number, you block him. And you tell me everything." She nodded frantically, wiping her tears. Yes, I'll do it. Please, just don't leave me." I went to bed that night hollow. I didn't hug her, didn't touch her. She lay beside me, quietly crying, while I stared at the ceiling. I had given her one more chance. Not because I trusted her, but because of our daughter. Because breaking up our family after one mistake felt too sudden, too final. But as I lay there, I couldn't help but wonder. Was I saving my marriage, or just delaying the inevitable? Would she actually end it, or was I already being played for a fool? For about a week after the confrontation, things were different. She cooked dinner every night. She laughed more. She actually looked me in the eye again. She was affectionate. She reached for my hand on the couch. She even initiated intimacy for the first time in months. Part of me wanted to believe her. Wanted to believe that admitting it had scared her enough to change. Maybe she had cut him off. Maybe she was serious about putting our family first. I kept telling myself, People make mistakes. We've been married for 7 years, we have a daughter together. You don't just throw that away over one horrible decision. For a moment, it almost felt like we were back to normal. But deep down, I couldn't shake the doubt. Every time she smiled at me, I wondered, is this real, or is this just an act? One night, she hopped in the shower and left her phone charging in the bathroom. For once, she didn't take it with her. That's when it happened. The phone buzzed on the counter. I glanced at it. I wasn't even planning to look, I swear I wasn't, but the preview lit up on the lock screen. It was from the same number. It said, "Did you tell him? When can I see you?" My heart dropped. My vision went blurry. She hadn't ended it. She hadn't blocked him. She hadn't told him anything. She was lying to both of us. I picked up the phone, walked straight into the bathroom, and held it up. She froze mid-shampoo, soap dripping down her face. I said, calm but cold, "Explain this." She gasped. "Oh my God, you went through my phone again?" I snapped. "I didn't go through anything." The message popped up. Same number. Same guy. "You swore it was over." She scrambled for excuses. "He texted me, not the other way around." I didn't reply. I held up the phone. "You didn't block him. You didn't cut it off. You lied to me." Her tears came back instantly. "I'm confused," she said. "I don't know what I want. Please, just give me time." That line cut deeper than anything else. "I don't know what I want." I stared at her, shaking my head. "You don't know what you want. You have a husband. You have a child. And you're still out here sneaking around with this guy?" She wrapped herself in a towel, crying, reaching for me. "I don't want to lose you. But I don't want to lose him either." That's when it hit me like a brick. I was being made to compete for my own wife. I wasn't her husband in her eyes anymore. I was an option. The rage, the humiliation, the heartbreak, it all boiled together until I felt numb. I looked her dead in the eye and said, "Then you've already made your choice." That night, I slept on the couch. And the next morning, I picked up my phone and called a lawyer. After that night with the text on her phone, something inside me shut down. I'd already forgiven her once. I'd already told myself I was doing it for our daughter, for our family. But this was proof she had no intention of changing. The next morning, I woke up on the couch. My back hurt, my head was pounding, and the first thing I saw was my phone with the lawyer's number on the screen. I didn't hit call yet, but just knowing it was there gave me a strange sense of control. When she came downstairs, she looked wrecked. Puffy eyes, messy hair, like she'd cried all night. She sat across from me and whispered, "Please don't do this." I didn't answer. She tried again. "I'll end it. I promise. I'll block him right now." I finally looked at her and said, "You promised that last time. You swore it was over. And the whole time, you were still sneaking around." She covered her face with her hands, crying. "I don't know how to stop. I don't know how to just cut him out." That sentence hit me harder than any of the lies. I don't know how to stop. Like she was an addict. Like our marriage wasn't enough to make her choose. I slammed my coffee cup down and said, "So let me get this straight. You don't want to lose me, but you don't want to lose him either. And you expect me to just sit here while you decide?" She shook her head, sobbing. "I'm confused, okay? I don't know what I want. But please, don't leave me. Please don't take our daughter away." That's when it all clicked. She wasn't afraid of losing me. She was afraid of losing her safety net. Her family, her stability, the house, the comfort. I asked her, cold as ice, "Do you love him?" Her silence was the answer. She didn't even try to deny it. I felt my chest cave in. 7 years together, and she couldn't even give me the dignity of a lie in that moment. I stood up, grabbed my keys, and said, "I'm done." She leapt up, grabbing my arm. "No, please. Don't call a lawyer. I'll fix this. I'll go to therapy. I'll do whatever you want. Just, don't leave me." Her nails dug into my skin. Her face was desperate. But it wasn't for me. It was for her own survival. I shook her off and said, "You had 2 chances. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. I walked out of that house, got in my car, and sat there in the driveway, my hands gripping the wheel. I didn't even start the engine. I just sat there, staring at nothing, realizing my marriage was over. For the first time, the thought of divorce didn't scare me. It felt like relief. I pulled out my phone, scrolled to the lawyer's number, and finally hit dial. As the phone rang, I asked myself the one question I'd been avoiding. Was I about to destroy my family, or save myself from it? The day after I called the lawyer, everything felt different. I hadn't filed yet, but just making that call flipped a switch in my head. I was no longer begging her for honesty. I was no longer waiting around for her to choose me. I had finally chosen myself. Of course, it didn't stay between us for long. She must have told her sister first, because 2 days later I got a call. Her sister's voice was sharp. Are you really thinking of divorcing her over one mistake? She told me everything. You need to think about your daughter before you blow up this family. I almost laughed. One mistake. This wasn't a one-night slip. This was months of lying, sneaking, gaslighting, even after I confronted her. But I didn't waste my breath. I just said, you don't know the whole story, and hung up. Then came the friends. Word spread. Some called me, saying, man, don't make any rash decisions. At least try counseling. Others were harsher. If you stay with her, you're weak. She disrespected you. Once a cheater, always a cheater. It felt like everyone suddenly had an opinion on my marriage, except the one person who had actually destroyed it. At home, the tension was unbearable. She tried to act normal around our daughter, making pancakes, watching cartoons, singing along to Disney songs. But when our daughter wasn't looking, she'd follow me from room to room, begging, please, don't do this. We can fix it. No one has to know. I'll block him for real this time. I stopped answering. My silence was louder than anything I could have said. One night, I told her straight, I've already talked to a lawyer. This is happening. She broke down again, clinging to me, saying, you can't. Please. What will people think? What will our daughter think? And that's when it hit me, all her begging was about optics. About shame. About not wanting to be the woman everyone whispers about at church or at family gatherings. She wasn't crying for me. She was crying for herself. The next day, I sat down with my parents. I told them everything. My dad shook his head, furious. My mom cried, not just for me, but for our daughter. She said, we'll support you no matter what, but you need to be prepared. This won't be easy. She was right. Divorce wasn't just about ending a marriage. It was about splitting holidays, explaining to a child why mommy and daddy don't live together, walking into a courtroom and saying out loud that your life has fallen apart. That night, lying awake on the couch, I opened Reddit on my phone. I started scrolling through relationship threads. Post after post from people in the same situation. Some stayed. Some left. Some regretted both choices. And that's when it really sank in. No matter what I chose, people would judge me. Half the world would call me a fool for staying. The other half would call me selfish for leaving. But this wasn't about them. This was about me finally facing the truth I'd been avoiding. So the next morning, I walked into the lawyer's office and signed the first set of papers. As I left the office, the only question left in my mind was, how would she react when she realized this time it was really over? Filing the papers felt like crossing a line I couldn't uncross. For months, it had all been suspicion, anger, and arguments. But now, it was official. We weren't just a broken couple, we were a marriage heading toward divorce. When I told her, she went silent. Not angry, not crying, just hollow. She nodded slowly and whispered, so that's it. I said, that's it. She packed a bag that night. Just a few things. Clothes, makeup, a framed picture of our daughter. She said she'd stay at her sister's for now. Watching her walk out with that suitcase felt surreal. I'd spent years thinking of this house as ours. Now, it was mine, and it had never felt emptier. Our daughter was the hardest part. She's only 4. Too young to understand, but not too young to notice. The first night her mom didn't tuck her in, She asked, "Where's Mommy?" I forced a smile. "Mommy's staying at Auntie's for a little while." She frowned. "Why?" I couldn't answer. I just kissed her forehead and said, "Mommy loves you." The next morning, she looked at me with those big eyes and asked, "Is Mommy mad at you?" That question almost broke me. I said, "No, sweetheart. Mommy's not mad. Mommy and Daddy just need some space." The truth was, I needed space. From the lies. From the constant second-guessing. From the humiliation of wondering if the woman lying next to me was secretly wishing she was with someone else. But space didn't mean peace. She still called me every day. Sometimes crying, sometimes calm, sometimes furious. "Please, don't go through with this. Think about our daughter. Think about the good times." The thing is, I did think about the good times. I thought about the night I proposed, the day our daughter was born, the vacations, the small moments that used to make me feel lucky. And every memory felt poisoned now. Because while I was holding on to those memories, she had been building new ones with someone else. One night, she begged me to meet her in person. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We met at a quiet diner. She looked tired, worn out, not like the woman I married. She held my hand across the table and said, "Please. I'll do anything. I'll go to counseling. I'll cut him off for good this time. Just, don't end us." For a second, I saw the woman I fell in love with. And it hurt like hell. But then I remembered the hotel. The late-night calls. The lies. The tears that only came after she got caught. I pulled my hand away. "You're not afraid of losing me. You're afraid of losing your comfort. And I can't live my life as your safety net." She broke down again in that booth, crying into her coffee cup, while strangers pretended not to stare. I walked out, leaving her there. When I got home, my daughter was asleep in her bed, clutching her stuffed animal. I stood in the doorway, watching her breathe, and told myself, I may have lost my wife, but I will not lose myself. And I will not let my daughter grow up thinking this kind of betrayal is normal. The papers were signed. She was gone. The only question now was, what kind of man would I be on the other side of this? The day the divorce was finalized was the strangest day of my life. No shouting, no dramatic courtroom scene. Just a judge, a stack of papers, and a gavel that came down quicker than I expected. Just like that, 7 years of marriage were over. Walking out of that courthouse, I felt two things at the same time, grief and relief. Grief for the life I thought I had, the family I thought I built. Relief that the lies were finally behind me. She moved in with her sister full-time. We arranged custody, split weeks, holidays divided. I hated the thought of my daughter growing up between two houses, but at least she wouldn't grow up watching her parents pretend. At home, it was quiet. Too quiet. Some nights, I'd sit on the couch staring at the empty space where she used to sit. Other nights, I'd scroll through old photos and wonder if she had already been checked out back then, smiling for the camera but thinking about someone else. But then there were the better nights. Nights when my daughter would curl up next to me, watching cartoons, giggling at the silliest things. Nights when I'd read her to sleep and realize she was my reason to keep going. Friends asked if I was dating again. I laughed. Dating? I was still learning how to sleep without wondering if the person next to me was lying. Trusting someone new felt impossible. But what I did learn was this: you can lose a marriage, you can lose the picture-perfect life, and still find yourself again. I had ignored my gut for too long. Every sign was there: the secrecy, the cologne, the hotel. And every time I doubted myself, I gave her another chance to prove me right. Never again. I don't know if I'll ever get married again. I don't know if I'll ever trust someone enough to let them in that deep. But I do know this: I'd rather raise my daughter in truth than keep her in a home built on lies. And if there's one thing I've learned from all of this, it's that sometimes the hardest choice, walking away, is the one that saves you. Because in the end, I didn't lose my wife. She lost me. So here I am. Divorced, raising my daughter, trying to rebuild. And I keep asking myself, when someone betrays you this deeply, do you ever really trust again? Help us tell more stories. Subscribe to support the channel. Thank you.